Hey, peace and positivity reflections, and well, earthly being here. Good energy to all. Uh, so in this one, I want to talk a little bit about honesty. And for starters, I just want to say in my last video, I talked about being a vegetarian or a vegan for about 3 years now, and I mean technically that's not completely true because there was three occasions that meat was served to me by friendly. Well, two of it were friendly occasions, and uh, I just didn't feel like telling them, I don't eat meat, so I ate the meat. And then another one was when I was, on the streets of Prescott. Somebody just handed me a beef and bean burrito, and I ate it. So, but I have not, and this is the absolute truth. I have not purchased um, or consumed flesh other than those three occasions in about a little over 3 years, I think. So, I just wanted to start it off with that, and then to also say that for me, like I know myself well enough to know at least what my biggest issue, and when I say issue, I mean the biggest obstacle that I've had in my journey here and in my experience, in my particular pattern of information that I kind of call soul, what have you, personality, and it really is consumption. Like, I've always, and when consumption comes in many forms, like it's also just you know, uh, putting an extreme effort into an activity, or taking a situation and amplifying the levels of intensity to very high extreme levels. In a sense, this is consuming. This is a me desiring more, and then that consumption, that the desire for more. Um, you know, if you're a drug addict, it translates very extremely into to wanting more, to always wanting more of that substance. And it's caused me a lot of hell. It's caused me a lot of pain. And I just recently started drinking again and smoking marijuana. So very dangerously, I have chosen to go into an area of my past, my lower self, that almost killed me. And it's a little scary. It's a little scary, but also, I know it's my fault. I blame no others. I know I create my own realities, and I knew the risks in doing what I do, and nobody's forcing me to do these things that I choose to continue to do. So, I don't point fingers. I accept, everything that all. I accept it all. I accept everything that I am, and I also know, I feel good about things because, even with my, suffering and my addictions and all this and that, like I have continued to express myself and to for a long time I really didn't know what I was going to do with myself. And none of these Babylonian jobs seemed right. Going to college never seemed right. Just everything I saw was just off. And it never really resonated. There were some others who felt the same way, but not to my level, not to my degree, not at my frequency. And so I've always kind of been like a. I mean, I have friends, and I have a very good friend, and actually, I should. If you guys are into rapping at all or hip hop and that and this, my good buddy Theodore Edward Greenberg, you can find him on Facebook. He's got. I think he's very skilled and very talented, and he's also changed his life around for some real good time. And he's also a very spiritual practitioner, and an up and coming leader in the Buddhist movement. So his rhymes are, they've got a lot in them, but they're predominantly positive and encouraging, and he's very talented. So I suggest y'all check him out on Facebook. That's Theodore Edward Greenberg. But back to me. Yeah, it's always, I feel grateful, and I have a lot of good outlook for the future, because and visions of the future, because I know it can heal me. I know the reasons why I'm hurting. I know why I've always been different. I know um, where my sanctuary, my salvation really lies. And I mean, it's different for everybody. And there's different levels of it for everybody. I'm a very, uh, I'm a very intense human being. Like I said, I've got that extreme consumptive nature. So that's something that's a part of me that I know about myself, and I have to recognize and really be aware of it, and take heed to it and acknowledge it, not neglect it. So for me, like, I've tried going to rehab in the past, like, it didn't work. And I just recently had over 2 years without drinking on my belt, and but I was still smoking marijuana all the time. So I still wasn't really completely sober. I had a little bit of a speck of sobriety there, but then I came back here to Portland, Babylon, and I just fell off the wagon. So it's like all these directions, like everything that I've learned in my whole life, and especially the past couple years, are pointing me to a place of nature. And this is why I've always, just my whole life, I've always been trying to get back to nature. I've always, gone on camping trips. I've always, encouraged friends to join me. I've always just daydreamed about living out there, creating my own place. Like I've even getting really detailed with things that I would do, like creating my own movies or reacting movies, or just building structures, or creating like obstacle courses to help train people. I mean, I've always had so many ideas about things that we can do out in nature, and that's always held my attention above anything else. Really, like when it comes to like doing things and passions and hobbies, like nothing else has really held me with such good attention as that. So it's like, I figured it out. Now I know why I'm suffering. Now I always feel like the need to intoxicate myself when I'm in Babylon, because it's just not good for me. It's not good for my growth. It's not good for my well-being. And then now with the information that I know, I can actually break down all the reasons why these jobs, these ways of living, these subjective materials we put into ourselves, and physical materials in terms of bad food and drugs and bad water and all these things, even bad air. It's like now I actually have the real definitive reasons why I've always felt suffering, why I've always felt off, why it's always felt wrong to be here and to do these things, and why I've never fit in. Because I am different, and I am, you know, just more of an earthly being, more of essentially a pure being. I've become tainted while living here for so long, and I didn't know the reasons why a lot of the things were going on in my life, and that led me to escape, that led me to go into different lanes and to become astray. And this is why it's a warning to any of these younger cats out here. Just personally, I did, don't seek solitude in drugs. Don't find comfort in them. They will eat you up. They will kill you. They will rob you of your soul and put you in a place of hell that you're never going to want to be in. It's horrible, and you feel like you can never get out. And it was not, I'm still not completely out. But the little bit of I did get out of it was really not easy, and a lot of people don't even make it. That Buddhist buddy Theodore I just talked about, he was an alcoholic like me, but he's actually got over 3 years with completely sober. He has not relapsed, and I don't think he's going to, because in a lot of ways he's stronger than me. But he's about to go and visit a close family member of his who's not doing so well in that department, and it just goes to show, like, it doesn't, that area, that lane, that indulgence does not end well for a lot of people. And I've met a lot of people who suffer and, are still suffering, and I'm one of them. So don't be like me. Stop. If you've got any type of an addiction or a problem, stop. Work on getting out of it. Get back to nature. Really, this is my best rehab. It's free. You put yourself in the woods. I mean, if you don't have the training for it, it's going to be hard for you. But start training for it. Start taking camping trips. Start getting accumulated to being out in the woods alone. Or with good friends if you have to. But um, get used to it. Get more attached to it, and stop toxifying yourself. Stop taking these drugs. Stop drinking. Stop smoking cigarettes. Stop doing all these negative, toxic behaviors that are killing you at an abnormal rate, at a satanic rate, because they do, the evilness, the negativity, the one who seeks to consume, he does have an agenda, and his agenda is a very pressing one. And anytime he finds a place to infiltrate and to devour, he will. And he's a trickster. So it's part of like devouring. You're going to find a lot of comfort and goodness inside of that, and even justification to do that. And this is a trick, because that is only going to lead you farther away from your higher self, farther away from heaven, farther away from happiness, true happiness, sober happiness, pure happiness. And that's really where it's at, man. I mean, if you look at efficiency, if you look at all these things, love, joy, pleasure, positivity, they all stem from a source of divine order. And if you want to get there, you got to follow the path, as we all do. And I encourage you to follow that path, because I know what it's like to steer away from that path. And you will find yourself in a hell that is horrible. So, all right, with that being said, I love myself, I love you all, and have a good day. All right, goodbye.